Mr. Tharoor, thank you very much for your time here on Mirror Now. Pleasure to speak to you. Just out of curiosity, have you read all the books in this room?
No. Unfortunately, the books are quiet since I've come into politics. In many cases, I've only been able to leaf through them, or in some cases, just look at them, and wish that one day I will have the time to actually delve into them.
So do you go to a bookshop and pick them up, or are they usually gifted to you?
Very often, publishers bring them to my attention and send them to me. Sometimes friends give me gifts. I still have family members who believe the best gift to be giving is a book, so I have a lot of gifts coming my way too.
I'm not sure whether in India people like politics more or cricket more. We'll just assume that they've had an overdose of politics in the last 1 month.
But I've had an entire bookshelf of cricket books, and not in this room, in the next room.
Achha, so can I just quickly start by asking you a cricket question?
Sure.
You've tweeted out to say that the BCCI has picked a fabulous team.
Right.
Is it because Sanju Samson is in it, or do you generally agree that it's a great team?
I generally agree it's a great team, and Sanju Samson in it confirms that it's a great team because he's somebody who really has deserved this break. He's had many fewer opportunities than his talent has deserved. And I'm very pleased to see him there. Of course, as his MP and as somebody who's been following his career since he was 14 years old, I really do feel a particular satisfaction at his selection.
But any question marks about Rinku Singh? Because that seems to have been a
No, I think it was
superstar.
a straight fight between him and Shivam Dube, and there's no question that in the IPL, Shivam has done very much better than Rinku. I mean, it's simply current form that they're concerned about. Don't forget the tournament starts almost immediately after the IPL is over. And so current form is a very major consideration. And though Rinku has been an indispensable element and he's been good enough that he's in the travelling reserves, I think there's no question that in the straight shootout, who's going to be the finisher between him and Shivam Dube has the performance this year to demonstrate. If you'd asked the question 2 years ago, it would not have been Shivam Dube. But today it is. And the guy has improved, and that should be taken into account.
Should we get to the star all-rounder of the BJP, Prime Minister Narendra Modi? He's thrown a googly at the Congress party, where he's saying that, look, if the Congress comes to power, they will put X-ray machines, scan your cupboards, scan your closets, take away all your gold and money, and give it away to the Ghuspetiyas. You can dismiss that.
That's not a googly, that's a Chinaman. It's actually much worse. But also, before that, he blew through all those beamers talking about the Muslim community. That was truly unworthy of a Prime Minister. Shocking.
You can dismiss it as rhetoric. You can dismiss the entire debate around redistribution of wealth as rhetoric. I want to ask you whether the Congress party has failed to communicate properly what they mean by a socio-economic survey in their manifesto and what it aims to do. I mean, a great Krantikari bite, great for television, but just look what it ends up doing. I mean, the Prime Minister has hit a full toss on it.
No. Let me explain to you exactly what was intended and what Rahul Gandhi said as well, which is that, as long as our government, state and central, are giving and not giving certain benefits to people on the basis of their caste affiliation, we may as well know what caste people are claiming allegiance to, number one. Number two, not just enough to know the numbers, we should know what their economic status is like. For example, if you actually have a socio-economic census, you will know what caste people belong to and what they're earning and what their assets are. And if it turns out, for example, there is a correlation between, say, Dalits and extreme poverty, then you need to have targeted policies to benefit the Dalits. There's no talk at all about actually taking money away from anyone else. And if it turns out that the Dalits are hugely rich, there's still good arguments for them to get a reservation because they've suffered 3,000 years of discrimination, right? So it's not that there is an automatic policy that's going to follow from discovering what you are and how much you have. But the expression X-ray that Rahul Gandhi used was to say, look, we need to know what the real picture is. Just as you take an X-ray to find out what really is there inside you, let's see what there really is inside our country. Not inside your home or inside your cupboard, inside our country. It's a macro picture we're talking about. And the Prime Minister suggesting there's going to be some raid on people's things. Look, the same Prime Minister has said this party has been ruling for so many years, has done nothing. This is one of the things we haven't done. Okay, we've done a lot of good things that he's not given us credit for. We don't want credit for something we've never done. We've never raided people's homes and taken away their money. And we had no plans to do that now either.
Then how do you explain a senior leader from your party, you know him well, Manish Tiwari, he's your candidate from Chandigarh, tweeting this. I'm going to quote him so that no one can accuse me of misquoting people. We will not allow 1% people to hold 77% of India's wealth. जब पैसा बटे एक समान, तभी होगा Bharat Mahan. This has come today.
Well, look, as far as I'm concerned, Manish can explain his own thinking better than anybody else can, so you can ask him. From my point of view, I think it is merely talking about fairness in our society. And that would involve a whole range of economic policies, which instead of giving benefits to a small coterie, might give benefits to a larger number of people. That's essentially the common sense approach. Congress is a pretty big tent, right? So there are various schools of economic thought within it. I can say that having served in the Manifesto Committee under Mr. Chidambaram, who has shown us his economic approaches as finance minister on 2 different occasions, in the 90s as well as in UPA, I can tell you that as far as the Congress party is concerned, many of us have strong faith in ourselves as the party of liberalization. We want the economy to grow, but we want the revenues that accrue to the government from a growth in the economy to be distributed to those who are marginalized, oppressed, and below the poverty line. There's nothing wrong with that. That's social justice. The important thing to recognize is that we are not doing anything to stifle economic growth or the business community. We are the ones who made it possible in the first place under Dr. Manmohan Singh's finance ministry in 1991, and subsequently reaffirmed that under Dr. Manmohan Singh's prime ministership from 2004 to 14. So to suddenly make us out to be some sort of communist Marxist government, which we've never been, is simply not fair.
Okay, I go back to the question I asked you. Has the Congress party failed to communicate what this meant properly, clearly, and then you have people like Manish Tiwari who are simply confusing things as well?
Look, the difficulty is when the media starts asking one person to explain the view of another person. I can explain my view as I understand it as a Congress member and as a participant in the Manifesto Committee. There was no discussion in the Manifesto Committee of capturing anybody's wealth and distributing it to anybody else. It was a question of trying to promote a consciousness of social justice and equity in our civilization, which frankly has always been a hallmark of Indian society. There is no question that the degree of inequality that has grown in recent years, I mean, in the last 10 years, it's striking that all the income gains in our country have gone to the top 20%, and that 80% of our population has witnessed an income decline. Now, that's a simple concept for anyone to understand. Is that fair? Can we do something to ensure that there is a little more equity? We have suggested better focus on employment, filling all government vacancies for one thing. Second, ensuring the Apprenticeship Act is brought into force effectively to ensure that the government itself contributes a share to businesses to make it worthwhile for them to hire people for their first job. Essentially as trainees, that's what an apprentice is a trainee. These are all methods of ensuring greater equality, greater opportunity. It's not redistribution in the sense that you are worried about.
Okay. The BJP, sir, has dug out 2 ancient videos of Dr. Manmohan Singh, where essentially Dr. Manmohan Singh is saying that minorities, particularly the Muslims and the poor in the Muslim community, have the first right to India's resources.
Did you listen to the whole thing?
Sir, I have.
Okay.
There is one clip which is not the full thing. I understand that the BJP has put that out. We've heard the whole thing. We've seen the clarification that came in. But there is a second clip as well.
Achha.
And Dr. Manmohan Singh is saying exactly what he, in the second clip, that he said in the first clip. Essentially to say that the charge of Muslim appeasement does stick to the Congress party when the BJP pulls out these ancient videos.
Look, I mean, if the Muslims have been appeased by 65 years of Congress rule, why is it that they are still amongst the most impoverished sections of our society, that they're underrepresented in the administration, in the police, in the army, in courts, and overrepresented in the prisons? Is there something wrong with our policies of appeasement that we haven't actually delivered any benefits to them? Let's be very honest and say there is no appeasement policy. The fact is that you are looking at disadvantaged sections of your society, whether it's women, whether it's disabled people, whether it's unemployed people, whether it's Muslims, whether it's people of the tribal belt. There are people in our society who need a little extra help. And the government has historically had policies to help them. That's all we're talking about. So, for example, we have a minorities ministry and a minorities commission. We have scholarships for minority students. We have scholarships for tribal students. We have hostels for girl students. Why do we do all this? These are categories of our society which we feel need a leg up so they can be on equal terms with the rest of us, who the privileged males or affluent females who have been able to benefit so far from our society.
But is that assuming that there are poor people only in the minority community?
No.
and that there are no poor Hindus? Because that's the impression that gets conveyed.
Impressions are being essentially goaded by the BJP into being conveyed. The truth is, you've seen Prime Minister Manmohan Singh made that speech pretty early in his tenure. He continued as Prime Minister till 2014. Did you see any policies that would imply that Muslims were given more than anyone else? Did you see any policies that favored minorities exclusively at the expense of the majorities?
There was the quota. 4% Muslim quota in Karnataka. You can argue that came...
Dr. Manmohan Singh was the Prime Minister in Delhi. He wasn't Chief Minister of Karnataka, number one. And number two, the government of India is responsible for the national policies. Each state government has the right to have its own policies that reflect its own socio-economic realities. In fact, we have a Prime Minister who talks about cooperative federalism, but likes to ride roughshod over other states. We are saying that when we were in power, we allowed the states to do what they felt was right for them, but we made national policies which had a certain vision of a more just, more equal society.
Dr. Tharoor, can I ask you this? Is the answer to misinformation fake news? I ask you this question. I ask you this question because the Congress is, and Rahul Gandhi is saying this as well, that if the BJP comes to power, and when they come to power, they're going to mess with the Constitution and do away with reservation. Where has the Prime Minister said that I'm going to do away with reservation? That's fake news.
Look, my worry, frankly...
Just like the Mangalsutra news is fake news, just by the way.
Well, that's completely fake, isn't it?
So, but this is also fake. He's never said it.
He's never said it, but the fact is, what worries me is how much he has done without saying it. When you look at the letter of the Constitution and you look at the spirit of the Constitution, we find two different things. The Prime Minister has not tampered with the letter of the Constitution, but he has violated its spirit on multiple occasions and in multiple areas. The weaponization of the agencies, the selective prosecution of opposition members, the whitewashing of corruption allegations when people join the BJP, the misuse of the position of governor to oppress state governments to sit on their laws and not to allow them to function freely. The manner in which the central government has proceeded to do all of these things and more suggests to me that he has been able to create a situation where the spirit of the Constitution has not been applied without even not amending. So without declaring an emergency, we have a situation much worse than the emergency where no one is willing to speak on the phone because they fear their phone has been compromised and people are listening to them, where there is a level of intimidation of the media today that the media feels, and I've had many journalists speak to me in private from major television channels as well as major print outlets, saying, we're all scared. We know we can't go too far against the government. And I recall the years of 2014 when we got a walloping from the media and we took it in good grace as the spirit of democracy. Where has all that democracy gone that was enshrined in the Constitution?
Do you feel your phone is being tapped as well?
Quite possibly. I got a warning from Apple saying it was compromised. I just said, what the hell, let them listen. I'm not doing anything illegal. It's part of my legal right as a member of parliament from the opposition party to oppose the government. So I speak openly on the phone. I don't mind what they're listening to. Let them enjoy hearing about themselves. I'm speaking openly to you now, as long as you carry it.
Everything will be carried.
Good.
As long as we stick to our time limit of 24 minutes. Otherwise, then it's chop, chop, chop.
That's up to you.
Mr. Tharoor, I'm coming back to the fake news question because you've seen the edited video of Amit Shah.
I haven't seen it, but I've heard about it.
So it's not a deep fake, it's a cleverly edited video where essentially the sense that is being conveyed is that if we come to power, the OBCs, the SCs, the STs will lose their reservation. It's badmashi. My point is, this fake video, which everyone knows is fake, even a 5-year-old will know it's fake, has been retweeted by Congress handles and the Telangana official Congress handle as well. Now, the Congress and its handles do badmashi, and you're accusing the BJP of trying to arrest your chief minister?
No. If it is a fake thing, that it can be deleted. I mean, frankly, people make mistakes. I've been taken in. Do you remember the time when I tweeted my condolences on the passing away of poor Sumitra Mahajan, who had not passed away? I was taken in by a fake news thing, and I was very embarrassed. I had to call her and apologize. So it can happen to anyone. It's quite possible that
the charge is that the Congress is the one behind that video.
No, I doubt it very much. We've got better things to do, frankly. And also, I remember Dr. Manmohan Singh saying to me that the one subject that no politician of any party in India will touch is reservation. It's, there's in America, there's this expression called the third rail. The New York City subway, there are the two rails on which the wheels run and the third rail on which the electricity runs. The third rail, if you touch, you're electrocuted instantly. Reservations are the third rail of Indian politics. No one's going to touch it. So no one is going to seriously believe that any politician will make a speech saying that. Even the RSS, which has said it in the past, was very quick to disavow it now, saying we've changed our mind, we don't want to abolish reservations. So no one is willing to touch the issue of reservations. So no one is going to take this as a serious attempt by the Congress Party. The Congress Party knows better.
Acha. So, Mr. Tharoor, you've written for the Mathrubhumi this morning, and you say that there are, I'm just quoting you, that there are a few takers for Modi's bombast. And you are arguing that people who voted for Mr. Modi in 2014 have no reason to vote for him in 2024.
Correct.
Why do you say that?
I said that those who voted for him in 2014 expected to get a job. If they still don't have a job 10 years later, why would they vote for him again? If people are discovering that they can't afford to buy at the market what they could buy in 2014, why would they vote for him again? If they're discovering that the money in their pockets, the income coming in, maybe even the jobs that they had are no longer there or has gone down significantly in quality and amount, why would they vote for him again? I'm saying people are beginning to think in terms of self-interest. You see, in 2014, don't forget, his original appeal was as the successful CEO of Gujarat Inc., which is going to be the Indian success story. That failed because of the disaster of demonetization. So 2019, they ran on national security, Pulwama, Balakot, and suddenly it became a national security election. Everyone forgot their personal woes and voted to defend the country from Pakistani terrorism. 24, neither economics is working, nor is national security working, because the Chinese are sitting on our frontiers, nibbling away at our land, and there are 26 out of 65 patrolling points where both armies used to patrol, where the Indian army no longer has access. So they can't claim national security, they've failed in national security. What does that leave us with? Hindu Hridaya Samrat, and so they're doubling down in Hinduism. But there are a lot of good Hindus who say, wait a minute, you know, my mandir is my mandir. But I also need a job, I also need money in my pocket, I need to be able to go to the bazaar and buy things for my family. And that I can't do anymore. Maybe another government will do us a better shape. I can tell you, I'm not suggesting there is a huge mahal or a huge wave for the Congress Party and the opposition. But I can tell you that all the reports we're getting is, we are getting a lot of the benefit of the doubt from people about the BJP, and a lot of the BJP candidates are facing something they've not faced in the last two elections, and that's indifference, voter apathy. There are some BJP people who may not want to vote against the party, but who are not going to vote for it either. And that's why turnout has come down in some northern states.
By about 2 to 3%.
That's a significant number in our country.
And in Uttar Pradesh, I think slightly larger.
That's
but who do the people of India vote for? You're saying if not Modi, then who do they vote for?
They vote for the alternative in each constituency.
The alternative is...
It varies.
It varies, but the national alternative is the India Alliance. Here's what most people who even sit on the fence will say. Look at this ragtag army. How do they hope to take on a mighty general when they are busy fighting amongst themselves? For example, today, Mr. Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary from your party has said in West Bengal, he's a candidate from there, that instead of voting for the TMC and your allies at the center, it's better to vote for the BJP. Essentially to say that in West Bengal, the TMC is actually a bigger enemy for the Congress Party than the BJP. How does one even explain this? How do you go to the people and explain this to them and say, vote for us?
You're asking me to explain what Manish Tiwari said.
आप ही के दोस्त हैं.
Explain what I'm saying.
आप ही के दोस्त हैं.
आप तो मेरे article के बारे में पूछिए. I'm telling you what I wrote and what I'm saying is based on what I've seen. As far as the so-called ragtag army is concerned, let me stress very clearly that the coalition will come together after the elections in any case. There is no doubt. We've seen this, by the way, in 2004 as well. The UPA was not all together before the elections. Very few of the UPA parties actually fought the elections with a mutual understanding. Many of the parties that joined, as well as the entire left that supported from outside, were all people who came together because they saw an opportunity to stop the BJP in its tracks. The same thing will happen now. The BJP will not be able to have the numbers to form a government. That's very clear from all the signs we've seen so far in the first two phases. I know there are 5 more to go, but the BJP has lost control of the national narrative and it's slipping away from their hands. Let me tell you that at the end of the day, this motley ragtag army will find its own general. No one expected Deva Gowda to be Prime Minister. No one even expected Dr. Manmohan Singh to be Prime Minister. But people of quality and experience will be found from amongst the leadership of the India Alliance parties, and we will have a government. And let me point out one last thing. Every coalition government has actually had a better track record of economic growth and success for the country than every single party dominant government, including Mr. Modi's.
But if you can't get along pre-elections, what's the hope post-elections? If you can't run an alliance, how will you run a government?
Power can be a very powerful glue, my dear Shreya. It'll hold us together.
Okay, my last question to you is about your article in Matrabhumi. You're predicting 175 to 210 seats for the BJP, half of their 400 Par slogan.
400 Par is a distant dream. They've stopped saying it for the last, because they realize after the first phase is not happening. 300 Par is looking impossible already. The miracle for them will be if they manage 200 Par.
No, but even your best friends, Mr. Tharoor, will not agree with your assessment that the India Alliance has any chance in hell to come to power, at least in 2024.
Oh, I think you're quite wrong, Shreya. That was the old conventional wisdom. That conventional wisdom is fading away in the face of the realities. I think it's quite likely that this extraordinarily lengthy, protracted election season of 90 days, I mean, when I came into our country in 29 to contest my first election, 09 I mean, in 2004, the election had taken place in the same 543 constituencies over 20 days. Why this election commission needs almost 90 days is beyond me to understand, but assuming it's there to give the people and the powers that be the convenience of being able to campaign everywhere, they are going to find that the longer it takes, the more that they're going to find the voters dribbling away from them. Because precisely all this old rhetoric, this Muslim bashing, scaremongering and fearmongering of the distortion of the opposition party's manifesto, all this stuff just doesn't work anymore. People are asking, what have you done for me lately? And you know, a friend of mine once said, politics is like a bank without a savings account. It's only the current account that matters. No one gives you credit for what you've done in the past. So you may have built a toilet, now there's no running water in it, that's what they're going to vote on. So let me tell you, I stand by my prediction. The BJP is going to drop to a level where it will not be able to find enough allies to form the government, and the India Alliance will come together when the need arises to save this country and give it a brighter future.
Dr. Tharoor, our 24 minutes are up. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Good to speak to you.
Good speaking to you.